If you're familiar with Five Nights at Freddy's GMod content in literally any way, chances are you've seen this map many times. It's one of the most famous and popular FNAF maps in the entire game. And there's so much to love about its extremely unique approach to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. But what you may not be as familiar with is the various versions of this map that were created alongside the original. Along with the extremely interesting, but honestly baffling lore tied to the map. Now, for the longest time, my connection to this map was about the same as most people's. I absolutely loved messing around and playing on this map as a kid. It's an extremely unique take on Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that you can tell was tailor-made to be used in GMod Sandbox. The large open rooms that you can basically do whatever you want with, the fully detailed exterior of the building. It has a great mix of familiar assets from the Key Thief FNAF maps as well as many of its own. It truly is the perfect FNAF-themed playground, and there's a reason why it got so popular. So in this video, I'm gonna go over every single version of this map and truly find out what is a Freddy of King. GM Freddy Pizza Day is the basic version of this map, and everything after it is an edit of this exact same map. And while it is the essential standard version of the map, it's also not all that interesting, and doesn't really have that much off about it. You'll notice this throughout the video, but the maps kind of just progressively get crazier and crazier until it's actually, like, insane. But we start off pretty unassuming with this pretty awesome Freddy Fazbear's Pizza design. The first thing that usually jumps out to people about this map is the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza logo. It's a very peculiar piece of Freddy art that's fully original to this map. And it's just a very interesting choice of logo because it's extremely stylized and doesn't really fit the rest of the pizzeria's branding on the map. The exterior of the building itself is directly based on that one image that game theory always uses to represent Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which that image is already a Photoshop of a real Chuck E. Cheese location. In the exterior of the map, while it's a bit larger than the Chuck E. Cheese location would have been, it still remains extremely faithful to the original design of the building, and this design for the building gives the overall map an aesthetic that you surprisingly don't see very often from FNAF things. Because the specific Chuck E. Cheese location design is very distinctly 2000s, and the overall vibe of this map is very modern. It's definitely not a pizzeria from the 80s. So yeah, the front of the building is very close to the reference image, and there's a decent amount of cars parked outside. You know, it's not like the place is bustling or anything, but you know, they're getting a little bit of business. Probably more business than your local Chuck E. Cheese. And the building has tons of windows, which is very distinctly not Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Name a single FNAF game with a window to the outside world. I guess Security Breach has one, but like, it's only one. It's at the beginning of the game. It's nowhere. There's no other windows in that game. They even have windows in the bathrooms, which, like, I don't think that's normal. I mean, at least the women's bathroom has stalls, but, like, you know, sorry to you urinal fans out there. Someone could be looking at you through the window, and they're watching the whole process. I just realized this joke doesn't work. Couldn't people look at you using the urinal anyway? Who even invented urinals? They're probably some freak, I imagine. I guess the difference in privacy really isn't as different as I thought it was. But also, you really probably shouldn't put windows in public bathrooms. The back of the building has a back door, which it leads to a room that we'll talk about later. And then there's also a loading dock at the back of the building, or at least I assume it's a loading dock, but it's like a garage door and it does not open and there is no room modeled behind it. So that's just there for decoration. Pausing the video real quick to bring an important message. You ever looked at my character and really wondered, what if it was real? Whoa, too close to the camera there. Come on, back up. Introducing the Premium Slinky plush. I made this plush in collaboration with Brooks Customs, and I am so happy with how it turned out. And this plush is completely independently produced, so I'm gonna need your help to make it do well. There's no big plush company attached to this, it's just its own special little thing. So you may be asking, what's so dang special about this thing? Well, my goal was to create something truly premium, and what do I associate with premium plushies? Posability. In every limb of this plush, even the neck is fully posable and bendable. And it can hold those positions because, let me tell you, these wires that we got to use on this plush are actually insane. Like, listen to this. That's what you like to hear. It's the perfect in-between between a plushie and an action figure. And did I mention that this plush is really big? She's sure to be a standout among plushies of all shapes and sizes. But you're gonna have to act fast, because this plush is only gonna be available for a month. You can get your very own at the link in the description and the pinned comment. And to make it extra worth your while, pre-orders will include a free poster. Thank you all so much for your support as always. If you want to help support the channel and ambitious projects like this plush, please consider getting one. This plush is an idea I've had for a pretty long time now, and I wasn't ever sure if I'd really be able to do it. So thank you all so much, and get yours before it's gone. Okay, back to the video. The exterior of the building is well made. Like, you got some benches, you got some phone booths, but it's in like this really weird spot in like the middle of like a city. And it's like this giant cutout square of land in the middle of like a road, and I don't know. This is just like, it's just kind of funny. I've never seen a street laid out like this. Maybe it's just because I live in like America, but I don't know. I've never seen a place like this. I at least know there's no Chuck E. Cheese in a location that looks like this, because what is this actually? There's only one other prominent establishment nearby, and it's this strange building across the street. And I don't know what this is supposed to represent. Maybe it's like a competing restaurant or something, or like a competing like children's place, but I don't know. It's just this weird blank building across the street. I don't know what it is, but it's on every single version of this map. If I use NoClip to access the map's skybox, you can actually get a closer look at this building, and yeah, there's absolutely nothing remarkable about it. I don't know why it's here. Like, there's nothing inside, there's nothing around it, it is just what it is. But anyway, let's just move on to the interior of the building, which I think is much more interesting. I mean, as it should be. So when you enter the building, you're immediately greeted to a door to your left. Now, I'm gonna get this room out of the way. This is the worst room in the building, in my opinion. It is the employee locker room. Now, an employees only like break room would be an interesting idea for a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, since you don't usually see that, but this room is literally just a almost empty locker room. Like, there's not really much to see here. There's also the front counter to the pizzeria, which has some nice assets of the menu at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which are just lifted from the Keithy map, same with the posters on the wall and everything. You can see a picture of the Matt Pat Pizzeria, as I mentioned earlier, and yeah, it's just a nice little desk. You only got a coffee machine. There are these soda machines, which is like, or it's a single soda machine. It's kind of weird, because it's really, really small, right? And like, that's the only soda machine in the entire building. That can't make enough soda. Like, the single coffee machine for all the employees, I can understand that. The soda machine is like, come on, you can't, like, that's not enough soda for the entire building, and like, that's such a small machine. There's no way. I'm not asking for no freestyle machine, but like, this isn't enough. This isn't enough. It's completely unrealistic. Also, I kind of just assumed the coffee was for the employees. Maybe that's for the customers too. Who's getting a coffee at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? This blue bottle always kind of intrigued me. Like, is this like the person working at the desk's bottle? It's always here. It's just kind of weird. It's like, this is such a weird little asset to just have here, I feel like. Then we're at the parts and services room, which I feel like is in a very unique place. Usually it's not right at the front of the building in FNAF maps, and I don't know, I just think that's a very unique placement for it. But it's pretty empty. It's just kind of like a shelf and then a save them machine, which is ripped straight from the Keithy map. It even has this note that says, "Hey Frank." I don't know who the hell Frank is. And that's lore from the Keithy maps, not this map. I'm making a video about the Keithy maps, by the way. If you want to stay tuned for that, just mentioning it. Then we have the manager's office, which is bigger than the employee locker room, and it's a huge room, and most of it is completely empty. This room has always been kind of odd to me. It feels like there should be more going on in here, but it really is just like a big empty room with like a desk in the middle of it and like a couple filing cabinets. And we'll be talking about whose office this actually is a little bit later. The map has a very unique long stage design, which I've never really seen another FNAF thing have. It's like really, really big, way too big for the animatronics, and there's not really any explanation for it. Like, even in a location like this, which, as the events map reveals, is supposed to have 6 animatronics, there's still a giant empty side of the stage, so it's just really interesting. It is cool, though. I kind of imagine that the kids would be able to come up on the stage and, like, hang out with the animatronics, which is kind of a cool idea. That's kind of what real Chuck E. Cheese's do. Kids can kind of just, like, sit next to the animatronics if they want to at most locations. At least the locations that still have that. The dining area is nothing crazy. Very, very similar to FNAF 1's dining area. And then Foxy's Pirate's Cove is very weird because it's, like, It's not really pirate themed at all. I wouldn't even call this a Pirate's Cove. It's more so just a smaller stage, but it is carpeted, which makes me think that this is definitely meant for, like, kids to come up and, like, be on the stage with Foxy, and maybe it was, like, some kind of play area. I don't know, but it is really interesting because, again, this makes a lot of very unique choices that kind of make the building seem a lot more modern. And it also just kind of adds to the freedom of the map. Like, you could really decorate this map on your own however you want to, so the empty space is kind of appreciated for GMod Sandbox. Then we have the bathrooms, which I already discussed earlier, but it's a very similar shaped bathroom hallway to FNAF 1, and there's even a door here that does not lead anywhere, but we can assume that this locked door is the safe room, since the safe room is commonly theorized to be in the bathroom hallway of FNAF 1. The kitchen is very basic, but, you know, I can imagine it getting the job done. You know, got a bunch of ovens, bunch of fridges, you know, they got a bunch of dirty tables, you know, they could make some pizza in here. I could see it. And then there's also a weird freezer in the back, which is, like, not, like, refrigerated at all. This is just, like, a concrete box. Like, I imagine this room would be kind of cold, but, like, I can't imagine this is actually a freezer. This doesn't look like a real freezer. If you haven't picked up on it by now, this is a very similar map layout to FNAF 1, but with certain elements of FNAF 2 mixed in. For example, down the left hallway, there is a party room, and then attached to that party room, there's another party room. And these are clearly just kind of here to fill the space, but they're nice, and it does kind of connect it back to FNAF 2 a lot more with the layout. And then there's also the usual supply closet from FNAF 1. The security office in this map has always been a little boring to me. Like, I feel like there could be something else going on in here, although I do really like the window in the back. Now, the map creator called this the distribution room, and I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it's clearly some kind of, like, power, maybe, like, distributing power? Is that what that means? But this room has always been peculiar because in the back of the room on the shelf, there is this plush. What the hell is that? So up to this point, the map really hasn't seemed all that weird, but what the hell is this guy? Now, this is a character exclusive to this map called Dr. Dolman, and Dr. Dolman has his own plush in the map, and you're probably wondering, what the hell is a Dr. Dolman? And to be completely honest with you, it's kind of hard to say, but as we go through this whole mythos, we're gonna learn a bit more about him, because this plush does not even begin to scratch the surface of the weird stuff that this map hides in its different versions. There's also an arcade area, which is pretty neat, although the carousel does not have anything on it. Not sure what's up with that. And then you can enter this little back area of the building, which includes this weird control panel, and if you head up the stairway, you can find your way to the roof, which has a helicopter pad, very notably. Now, why would Freddy Fazbear's Pizza have a helicopter pad? Cases minigames, moving on. There is a maintenance room in the back of the pizzeria, and this is where the back door I talked about earlier leads. And this room itself isn't very interesting, but the implication of it is mainly the intriguing part, because there's a little doorway in the side, and if you enter it, now, as you just saw, when you try to enter the back of the pizzeria, you are greeted by one of the purple guys. Now, you may be asking, what do you mean one of the purple guys? Well, I guess it's actually not that weird for FNAF, but all you need to know right now is that this guy who jump scares you in the back room of the daytime map is Fritz. That's right, Fritz Smith, famous night guard from FNAF 2 and nothing else ever. Now, Fritz is a very different character in this map than he is in the games. Although, I don't really know what he is in the game, so I don't know, maybe he is William Afton in the games. But basically, in this universe, in this little fan fiction bubble that this map has created, Fritz Smith is the titular purple guy. But he's not the only one, and you'll know what that means later on. There's nothing really all that different between this map and the original daytime map. It's exactly as advertised. It is a nighttime version of the original map, with one key difference though. The back door that originally contained the Easter egg where purple guy will jump scare you, and I really should get used to saying Fritz because saying purple guy will not narrow things down later. But as you can see, the door is locked in this version of the map. And furthermore, if you try clipping into the room, it is completely absent. It's just completely missing from the nighttime version of the map, which is really ominous. The fact that the door is locked could already make you assume that lore-wise Fritz is in there doing something suspicious at night. But the fact that there's literally no way to view this room in the nighttime version of the map because it's literally just not there, really leaves it up to the imagination. What is Fritz hiding in there? Well, okay, obviously it's not actually that mysterious. I mean, okay, what's the purple guy with the knife doing in the back room of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? I'll let you take a wild guess. What? Why would it ever be that? I just love the fact that even though this is a sandbox map that you should theoretically be able to do whatever on, I like that certain aspects of the storyline that's trying to be told here are implemented into the map itself. I feel like the fact you can't go back here kind of adds to the vibes of the map. And again, the fact that the room is literally missing really just adds to the effect that, yeah, maybe something is going on back there. I can't see it. But yeah, there's not really much else to discuss with this map, although I do really love the lightning. Now, this next map opens up very, very strangely. As we can see, the sign for the pizzeria has been changed from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to Fredbear's Family Diner. And the reasoning behind this can be kind of difficult to understand, but I'm going to try my best to make sense of it. As you can see around the pizzeria, it seems to be the exact same building. I mean, the exterior is identical, all the surrounding buildings match up, it is clearly in the exact same location, right? If we head inside, we'll see that most of the branding related to the pizzeria has been completely stripped from the walls, and all the windows are boarded up. And the interior of the pizzeria is mostly identical to the original. It's not that different, although there are a few key differences, and they're big enough for me to realize maybe this is an entirely different building. And like, I know the exterior of the building is completely like identical and like the surrounding buildings are all in the same place, but maybe they're just too lazy, I don't know. Because the lore implied on this map paired with the layout changes really make me think it's a different building. Because I guess kind of a spoiler for later, but the events map, which is the main thing I'm going to be talking about in this video, or it's at least the biggest thing I had to play for this, that map confirmed that the FNAF 2 phone calls are all canon to this universe. And you know what that means? Fredbear's Family Diner is not the same building, it is an older location. But I'm getting way ahead of myself there. What's so different about this map? This map, in place of the bathroom hallway and the 2 bathrooms, has 2 large empty party rooms, with a striking resemblance to the Follow Me minigame from FNAF 3, the broken animatronic parts and all being in the room, as well as the other connected room having 3 arcade machines lined up very similarly to the safe room in the FNAF 3 minigames. Along with this, the quote-unquote distribution room behind the office is completely absent from this map. It's just not there. And while you could say that maybe they did some remodeling before they reopened the building, the many drawings hidden on the walls of this map paint a very different story. And now these drawings are kind of where the lore for this map gets kind of nonsensical and extremely funny, because I want you to keep in mind, right? Fritz is like a grown man, right? He's like an adult. This is what his art looks like. And I just think it's funny how these are clearly supposed to be in the style of like the children's drawing from the old FNAF games, but this is not drawn by a child. This is drawn by Fritz Smith. This guy builds Freddy Fazbear and then his art looks like this. How does that work? But anyway, let's take a peek at these drawings and get a good idea of what the lore is here. Now the first 2 drawings are right by the front door, and they say the following. You can see a stick figure of a pink guy, 2 dead children, and a golden Freddy mask, and it says he. Then the neighboring drawing shows a very upset looking purple guy who says why with another 2 dead kids, as well as 2 suits, Spring Bonnie and Purple Freddy. Now I want to mention, okay, this is the only appearance or reference to Spring Bonnie in this entire map, or series of maps. And I went for a long time assuming that Spring Bonnie just didn't exist in this continuity, but no, Spring Bonnie does exist. He's just like his other suit that he doesn't really like as much. Because as you'll see throughout the rest of the map, it's pretty obvious that Fritz heavily prefers the purple Freddy suit. But anyway, you can see the purple and the pink guy. This lore is very clearly modeled after a lot of early FNAF theories from like before FNAF 4 came out. And I honestly really like that about it. But these drawings seem to paint a picture that there's some sort of tag team of murderers. They both killed a couple kids themselves. So this next drawing shows Fritz once again happily talking to this other purple guy who says it's the security responsible. Now, I don't know if he's phone guy or what. He might be because of the phone nearby, but I'm honestly not sure. But right next to this drawing, we can see, I am sorry, I'm king, blessing all kids, with a drawing of a purple Freddy Fazbear. Wonder if that's important. So Fritz clearly thinks he's the king of something, but what is he the king of? All kids, you idiot. What have you not been listening? In the follow me area, you can see that Fritz tried breaking into the pizzeria and searching for the body's kids, and you can see the animatronics torn apart here. But then in the next drawing, he makes the shocking revelation that there are indeed no kids inside the animatronics. And then right in the room that looks like the safe room, we can see another drawing that has X's over all the animatronics except for Spring Bonnie, and he's cornered, looks like some ghosts are coming up on him. This is obviously the creation of Springtrap as we see in FNAF 3. But Fritz's connection to Springtrap is kind of hard to put together, and we never really get that far in the lore, and I'll talk about that a bit more later, because it's not really relevant right now. Here we can see a drawing of Fritz wearing a purple top hat saying, "Forgive me, I'm king. It's a game," with the heads of all the animatronics. So I think that he's trying to just reinforce the idea that he is the king of all animatronics, I guess. Now here we can see Fritz, who is very, very angry, getting told by Pink Guy that he's fired, and then he is GM. Now GM is a character, and I don't know what GM stands for. It's not GMod, at least I think. Maybe it is GMod, maybe it's some meta stuff. That gives us the pretty essential lore that Pink Guy is Fritz's boss, but even more interestingly, isn't it kind of confusing how we have Pink Guy being the one making the calls, even though Phone Guy also exists and is a completely different character from Pink Guy? We get a drawing where it says 2 children every day, the end. That's great, buddy. I'm happy for you. Now, this picture is a little abstract in terms of how it frames things, but I think what's being told here is that Fritz and this red character, who is the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment, are basically performing at the pizzeria. They're with the kids, and then right outside the pizzeria is Pink Guy in his car, and he has just killed the puppet victim. In this next drawing, you can see Pink Guy looming over Fritz, and it says, "You can't." And it's right next to the FNAF 1 newspaper about the pizzeria closing. I think it's pretty obvious by now that Fritz is portraying Pink Guy as a very antagonistic figure towards him. And honestly, I don't know what the reasoning for "you can't" is in this context, because in the games it's just to tell the animatronics they can't go in the safe room, but what is he saying here? Like, what does that mean in regards to Pink Guy? What can't he do? Because it portrays the idea that Pink Guy is the main one orchestrating the murders, and Fritz is kind of unwilling. Although the map makes it pretty obvious that Fritz is still evil and has still committed murders before. Maybe there's a competitive aspect to it. Like maybe Fritz just feels like Pink Guy is better than him, since they do take on very similar personas and both commit murders. So I think they're rivals of some sort, and this next drawing really illustrates that. GM, security, CEO, it's they. Now this next drawing seems very, very important to show kind of how they handle the spirits they have. Here you can see on the purple Freddy side, the kid below him is very, very happy. Now I think this might be trying to show a sort of FNAF movie type of thing. Now obviously it wouldn't be a one-to-one interpretation because like this map existed way before the FNAF movie did, but the idea is that in the movie, William altered the kids' memories to make them think that the Yellow Rabbit was good so they would listen to him. Before obviously they have to be shown the truth and then they turn against him. Maybe Fritz is doing a similar thing to his victims, which would explain why he is the titular Freddy of King. And then you can see on the side with Pink Guy in the golden Freddy suit that the kid is very sad, so clearly he's a little more evil. Although, like I said, I think they both still murder people, so I'd say they're both pretty evil, but, you know, that's just me. And then last but not least, you can see the spray paint on the wall, which illustrates the CEO above all of them, and then the 4 purple guys. This is the whole gang. Now, this CEO character is pretty elusive since he doesn't actually appear in any of the maps. Like, there's no model of him. Heck, he's barely referenced outside of this Fredbear's map. So I wonder what his deal really is. I guess we'll never know. Now, what does all this information mean now that I've told it to you? Well, I think that this is the original Freddy's location that the murders happened at. Purple Guy and Pink Guy had some sort of rivalry. The missing children's incident happened. Then the bodies were hidden inside the animatronics and the police didn't find them. But then Fredbear's closes down because of the missing children's incident, and then the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is opened soon after. leaving Fredbear's to be abandoned. Then, years later, Fritz returns to this location to try and find the bodies, but doesn't find them. It seems like they've been relocated, but to where? And who would relocate the bodies? As you can see there, that is a very distinctly different purple guy than the other one. This right here is pink guy attacking us. Despite the fact that he's actually not very pink in this. But by process of elimination, he's the only one depicted without a security badge, and this is also clearly supposed to be a different purple guy than the one that jump scared us in the other map. But that's just how I choose to interpret it. There are different ways to look at this though, because it is worth noting that this purple guy who jump scares us does have glowing eyes, which is not a feature of pink guy, even on more detailed models. Another interpretation that might make a bit more sense actually now that I think about it is maybe this is Fritz after he got fired, because it would make sense that he's now missing his badge and his hat. But anyway, I think the goal here ultimately is that there are two competing serial killers at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And I think that pink guy moved all the bodies somewhere else for some reason. And that presumably would lead to Fritz being Springlock, which is a whole other can of worms that doesn't really fit into the story that well. So yeah, Fredbear's chronologically is not the first map in the timeline, but it is the first location that was opened. But anyway, back on topic, where would pink guy have moved the bodies? So apologies if the footage for this next map is a little laggy, it is incredibly horribly optimized. But this is Freddy Fazbear's Pizza kill case, and I feel like the theming of the map should be pretty obvious based on that alone. The building is surrounded by police cars and SWAT teams. There's signs all over the building telling you to not enter and that it's prohibited and that there's all these warnings and stuff. It's just like, this place is under super lockdown. And right outside the front door of the building, we can see 5 body bags lined up, small body bags. These are obviously the missing children. They've been found. They were clearly moved to the new pizzeria, which is why Fritz couldn't find them at the old one. And if we go inside the building, the first thing that really sticks out to me is this on the wall right here. Now, this is a sign for the United States Department of Scientific Research and Development. And there's a picture of that damn bat again. Now, the reasoning for this logo to suddenly be plastered on the wall, literally, I can't imagine how it makes sense. Does the United States the United States Department of Scientific Research like own Freddy Fazbear's Pizza or something? And that's who the CEO is, and that's why there's this plushie in the back of the pizzeria, and that's also why Dolman has an animatronic that looks like this. I haven't mentioned that yet, have I? I can't think of a single character design that has less aura than this. He is so, like, comically ugly. Why does he look like that? I really love how Dr. Dolman is supposed to be a bat. And you would only know that from this logo, because you sure as hell wouldn't be able to figure that out from his plush or his animatronic. It also probably doesn't help that he has a tie, which kind of just makes people default to think he is a ripoff of Candy the Cat. Which he very well probably is. He's not a very good ripoff of Candy the Cat, but like, at least he's trying, I guess. So yeah, Dr. Dolman is tied to the United States Department of Scientific Research and Development, and that's great. I love that. Do with that info what you will, because we're not getting any more. Also, the police cars reveal that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is in Illinois in this universe, so that's a fact, I guess. If we look around the inside of the pizzeria and look past all the continued warnings telling us not to go further, we can also see that in the manager's office of the building, there is a new piece of artwork. It's this strange, vague drawing that says Friends and Park, and here you can see a ton of Freddys and Bonnies inside of a park with an X over what appears to be Dr. Dolman with the word die next to it, so whoever did this probably does not like Dr. Dolman, probably Fritz. He seems to be the only one making drawings around these parts. Do you think the My Fun Day drawings from the old map were made by him too? Anyway, it's a bunch of Freddys and Bonnies in a theme park, and it says Friends and Park. So I don't know what this means. Maybe it's teasing that the next map, if it got made, would have been a theme park, but that never happened. There's a cool fan project. I know a lot of cool people in the GMod community watch my videos. Hey, make a theme park for i6 NAS models, that'd be pretty cool. The map is also covered in blood. Nearly every room has at least a little bit of blood splatter on the floor. Although particularly the 2 party rooms and the security office are very, very covered. But this is actually more interesting than you'd think because if you remember, the MCI didn't happen at this building. Yes, it is implied that the bodies were moved here, but the MCI didn't happen at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it happened at Fredbear's Family Diner. And since this definitely appears to be fresh blood that was not here before the place got condemned by the police, paired with the SWAT teams outside, we know that Fritz is the main purple guy of this map because of the icon, and I'm really thinking about this. Is all this blood splatter around the pizzeria from Fritz soloing the entire SWAT team? Let's truly think about this for a moment. Do we think that Fritz could do this? How skilled of a killer is he? Because it seems way more likely to me that that blood belongs to the police rather than any of his other victims. I feel like we're learning another reason why Fritz has the title of being the Freddy of King, because if he actually did this, which is what I'm choosing to believe because I want to, like, damn, that's some, like, Punisher, Frank Castle type stuff. What is he on? You could never catch William Afton doing this, but Fritz Smith, he's kinda got it. I already did a whole video before, kinda just to talk about this, but I've always really loved the implication in FNAF 3 that William Afton used the Shadow Freddy suit and that Shadow Freddy is a real costume, and that's kinda supported by the FNAF movie where he is just a costume. Something about a purple Freddy Fazbear just tickles my brain in the right way. And obviously, Springtrap is undefeated. That is the coolest FNAF character, just like from vibes. I think literally everybody agrees on this. William Afton's main persona being Spring Bonnie is perfect, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but as an alternate universe concept, the idea that he really wanted to be Shadow Freddy and being Spring Bonnie really was a punishment to him is kind of interesting to me. I don't know, I like that. And even if the lore of this map kind of barely makes any sense, it has the right idea in a lot of places, I think. And the specific interpretation of Purple Guy that these maps have has always really just resonated with me. And the specific interpretation of Purple Guy seen in these maps has always been something that I've been very, I guess, drawn to. When I was a little kid looking at these maps, I was just so intrigued by literally all of it, and I still am, even though I know that it really doesn't make any sense. It's definitely a bit of a nostalgia bias, but it's always made me really happy how so many other people seem to have such similar experiences engaging with these maps as a kid. I feel like they're just an essential landmark for anybody who grew up playing GMod and loving FNAF. And this Purple Freddy and this recolored Half-Life 2 Citizen have always been what comes to mind immediately when I think of Five Nights at Freddy's and GMod. So this section of the video is more about miscellaneous things than anything. Just a lot of external stuff I wanted to talk about before we get to the actual events map. Since I'd like the events map to be the last thing I talk about, so this section's probably going to be a bit all over the place. So now I discuss the iconic Garry's Mod add-on Purple Freddy plus Golden Freddy re-upload. Now, this is great stuff right here. And I mean this genuinely when I say that this pack includes my absolute favorite old FNAF fan model of all time. And I think most of you guys already know which one it is, but we'll start from the beginning. So contained within the map itself is the original Purple Freddy model. Now, this is an edit of the i6 NAS Freddy model, and it's always been extremely interesting to me how it almost seems like an artistic choice to make his nose gone. Because for whatever reason, it's a complete consistency between all of these models that his nose is completely absent. I mean, I guess his nose is there, it's just never colored. And you know what? I don't even mind that. It gives him charm, it gives him character. And there's also two other versions of him baked into the map. One of which has sharp teeth, a badge, and glowing white eyes, and the other one has black eyes. Now, in the separate model pack away from the map, they choose to use the Splinks textures instead. Now, I've been very vocal about this. I actually prefer the i6NIS textures over the Splinks textures, which I found out with time is not the popular opinion. But because of that, I do think this is a downgrade, but it really isn't that big of a deal. Like, it gets the same idea across. And he also has a cartoony texture, as well as one that goes back to the i6NIS textures partially, and makes them much darker than they were on the original Maps version. And then there's also one that makes him pink, and I could get into the lore of the implications of Pink Freddy, but I'm gonna choose to wait. But yeah, there is a Pink Freddy now, and I don't know what it means. Now, this right here is the titular Freddy of King model, and if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you will probably know by now, this is my favorite GMod, like, Freddy model of all time. I don't think anything comes close to it. I just think he has so much aura, and I love him. He's clearly modeled with the idea that, like, you can see Purple Guy inside the suit, but it really just kind of looks like his endo is made of, like, gummy. And the way his eyes inside his mask are modeled kind of just makes it look like he has these cool, like, slit pupils, and then he, like, follows you as he moves his head around, and, like, I don't know, it just looks really cool. And he's got his big, sharp teeth that go slightly too far outside his mouth, like, I don't know, I find him adorable. Is that okay to say? I kind of find him adorable. And much like the other models, he also has a cartoony texture and the same dark texture as the previous one. Now, what isn't very adorable about him is what happens when you take his suit off. Oh my goodness gracious. There's also a model of an empty purple Freddy suit, and I actually really love this model. You'll probably notice in a lot of my recent artwork if you've been paying attention to, like, the build-up to this video, but I like recoloring this model to just be like a normal Freddy or Golden Freddy suit. I don't know, I just like the way it looks. It's pretty cool looking. The wires coming out of his eyes and ears are just neat. But then we have the Pink Guy as Golden Freddy model. Now, this one is pretty obvious, right? Because Pink Guy, he puts on this suit. But something you may not be expecting is that the implication here is that there's also a Pink Freddy suit that is worn by the same guy that is different from Purple Freddy. And it's like, okay, like, one of them being a purple and a pink guy is one thing, right? But then make them both wear, like, slightly different colored Freddy suits is, like, absurd to me. The purple and the gold is fine. Why does Pink Freddy need to exist? But yeah, Golden Freddy doesn't have the sharp teeth that Purple Freddy does, which means he is definitely way less powerful. Also, if you just want to see what he looks like without his suit, yup, it's the same thing, and it's just as bad as it was before. As for some other external stuff, there were also some NPCs. The first one is this Pink Guy NPC, which claims that he's the CEO, and I don't even want to think about that, okay? There's too many characters here who serve way too similar roles. I'm not even gonna entertain the idea that Pink Guy is another CEO of Fazbear Entertainment. I'm not gonna do it. There's some basic NPCs of the Purple Freddy player models, which isn't that interesting, but then there's also chasing NPCs, which are always fun with FNAF add-ons, and I'm gonna be honest, this might be one of the worst neck spots I've ever seen in this game. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but he sucks, okay? He's so slow. He can't catch up to you, and he's just like... This walking animation. Why is he like this? Now, he does tend to play that Springlock audio, like of William Afton laughing from the iconic, the iconic Springlock audio that no one knows where it's from. So we know that that's what his laugh sounds like, and I have gotten a lot of mileage out of that. And then there's also the dark, evil version of him as an NPC, which is, it's the same thing. There's not really anything different about it, but it looks cool. So I'm too lazy to make yet another transition, so I'm just gonna, you know...
Now, we sit down for a tale as old as time. The story of the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza of Garry's Mod. Now, sit down and enjoy. If my tribe is to survive the winter, Purple Guy job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Fazbear security the work. Him is a what the fuck does this say? Him is a security guard in the day shift. Purple person job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Fazbear security the work. Him is a security guard in day shift. Him get that is a Freddy suit. he discovered it Golden Freddy is a suit. This is Golden Freddy, purple person using that it suit. Child murder. 1 children's death. 6 children's died. Him are undermining company's honor. Purple guy find the stolen Freddy suit. He helps companies save them. Phone guy finds the children's bodies. But before purple person stole a Golden Freddy suit, purple guy soon after he became a Freddy of King to control the animatronics. Purple guy destroyed all of the animatronics, releasing Ghost's children. Him why scared to death. Later, him was dead.
Him are undermining company's honor? What the fuck? There are probably ancient Aztec carvings that make more sense in the modern day than this does. Every time I try to wrap my head around the order of events in this, I get more confused. Like, it's so hard to follow. So pink guy isn't actually pink guy. He's purple person, canonically, but I'm gonna keep calling him pink guy because that's stupid. Purple guy and pink guy both get hired at Freddy's by who I assume is phone guy right here. And they both get hired in the day shift. Then, you know, him get that as a Freddy suit. Then he discovered it Golden Freddy suit. This is a suit. What? This is like completely broken English. I'm pretty sure the creator of this map originally was like Russian or something, so I guess that explains it. But it's really funny because on like the crude drawings, I feel like the broken English was kind of like it worked kind of. Here it's really funny because it's portrayed like an actual like backstory, but all the text is this. This is Golden Freddy. No, it's fucking not. What do you mean the Freddy suits got stolen? What's that about? Is it because they were using the suit? Dude, they work here. You just hired them. They didn't steal the suits. Okay, so phone guy was the one who found the children's bodies and moved them, I guess. But then, you know, the before purple person stole this, a Golden Freddy suit, you know. Then we got the picture with probably the most aura of all time, and then him is dead. Okay. I just realized here, why is he destroying them in a completely different room than what the Fredbear's map showed? They modeled an entire new room just to show where he destroyed the animatronics. What do you mean? So, what do we gather from this?
It's a big one. It's bullshit.
So, on the channel Floor Geek, there is an animated series called Cases Minigames tied directly to this Garry's Mod map. The first episode was released in 2017, and they would keep releasing episodes randomly up until 2021. And now, much like the rest of the lore here, this series is very, very confusing, but it is, like, shockingly well made. But you know what, I tried to a little bit, like, last time I talked about this, and, you know, I realized that was a mistake, okay? I don't know what this is. I don't know how to, like, wrap my head around this. I'm clearly not intelligent enough. It's like Rick and Morty, you know, you gotta be a certain level of intelligence to understand it. And well, as someone who's watched the entirety of Cases Minigames, I guess Cases Minigames is just too good to me. By the way, all the footage I'm showing is just the first episode, which is definitely the one that ties most to FNAF, but it's so funny, because I feel like in the grand scheme of this series' lore, the FNAF connections are kind of just like a footnote. Like, yeah, the pizzeria's here in the first video, you know, you got Freddy of King, but then the second video, Pink Guy's trying to make deals with the Russian government. I think we lost the plot really quick. There's just, like, actual, like, wars happening. Like, it makes this Freddy Fazbear's Pizza-related stuff seem so mundane. So Pink Guy is William Afton in this series, and he does have Afton robotics, but he also does this. In the credits of every video, they credit the creation of the character William Aston to Scott Cawthon, so that's appreciated. I'm sure Scott appreciates that. Did they just give him a nuke? What's happening? There is an upload of this series uploaded on September 11th where this happened. That's like a crazy thing to do, I think. What's all this about, man? Like, what's going on here? What's the relevance here to Purple Freddy? What's going on? What's all this about? Oh! Honestly, if you're interested, you should probably just, like, check these out for yourself. Nothing that I say or show could truly replicate the process of just sitting down and trying to process one of these videos. If someone else did a super in-depth video about specifically this, I would be very interested because, like, I need answers, okay? Is that Black Mesa from Half-Life? Okay, the idea of having your FNAF Garry's Mod thing be directly tied to Half-Life lore is, like, actually a really good idea. I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but I like that idea. I think I like FNAF and I like Half-Life, and, you know, Garry's Mod is a Half-Life mod, so, you know, yeah, I get it. But yeah, you know, I would be neglectful of the topic if I didn't mention Case's minigame. Now, there are updated versions of these maps created by the user Moonlit Knight, who I previously mistook as the original creator of the map, but they are not. Which I honestly don't blame myself for making that mistake, because they literally credit themselves for the entirety of the map at every turn. But this updated version of the map is honestly pretty much just an improvement over the original. It keeps a lot of features from the original, but kind of just condenses them and also adds a bunch of stuff. My favorite addition is this lobby area that seems to compile all the lore, which is the main reason I'm talking about the updated version of the map in this section, just because it's a good compilation, but I also just kind of want to talk about the map itself a bit, since if you're going to install any version of this map, this is probably the one to go with. We're here for, so much lore, it's a crime. We just gotta talk about this, alright? We just gotta talk about it. I actually don't know if this red CEO Freddy is actually original to this map or not. He very well could be, but he also could easily be something that was hidden away in the files of the old map. I'm not exactly sure. I assume this would be the CEO's Freddy suit, just going off the fact that the CEO is the only red character involved. And also, the admin room, which features all the rare screens compiled up, and a lot of the rare screens just specifically feature the CEO. They try to use the phrase, "Why you?" like a new version of, like, "It's me" or "Save them." But why you is so funny. It's like, that's not tough. I really enjoyed Dolman's side profile in this sprite. It just looks great. Did I mention Dolman's in the lobby of this map? Because he sure is. Now, since the lobby of this updated map is based on the Events Maps lobby, it has all the artwork from the Event Maps lobby as well. Which includes the infamous comic that I've talked about in like 3 videos for some reason. This weird FNAF Care Bears art. This art of all the employees lined up, which I'm pretty sure isn't canon because it doesn't line up with later stuff at all, but at the same time, most of this stuff doesn't line up. At least they actually call him Pink Guy in this and not Purple Person, thank goodness. But who the hell is Simon Fritz? We have this art of, presumably Freddy of King telling the animatronics how to kill the night guard, and I think this image is pretty funny because, one, that is the FNAF 2 hallway, this is not FNAF 2's map. Second of all, why is his knife glowing? I'm not opposed to a glowing knife, I'm just curious. We got this beautiful lineup of the 3D models of all the purple guys standing here. It's there. It says that he has 12 confirmed kills, which is actually, like, that's nothing compared to Ben Grimm from Fant Forstick. As for the map itself, it's got some pretty neat additions, honestly. The only real downgrade, I'd say, is the fact they swapped out all the posters for these more game-accurate versions, and I really don't like that. It, like, high-key kind of throws off the vibe of the map a lot, but it like, doesn't ruin it. It just, like, I don't know, the Keithy posters were just better, okay? They added curtains to Pirates Cove in the main stage, and the curtains kind of look awful, but, you know, it's the thought that counts. They added a second soda machine, which is greatly appreciated. I specifically ranted about that earlier. The office is full of a bunch of extra junk and just, like, random detail to make it make more sense as, like, an actual, like, office that they're using to do stuff in. Because the other office was, like, very weirdly empty for the amount of space that was in it. This map has some of the nicest physics cars ever. They even, like, turn on when you hit them too hard, and it's like, I don't know, this is just, I like these cars. They're probably ripped from somewhere else, but I don't know, I like them. The locker room is now on the stage for some reason, which honestly makes less sense. I'm not sure why that change was made. And the other side of the stage has a little janitor's closet on the side, which is nice. It fills out the space. They added a little safe room. You can actually enter it now, and it is fitting to FNAF 3, you know, got giant blood pool on the floor. You got the 3 arcade machines. This is cool. It's a little smaller than the safe room seems in FNAF 3, but I do like it here. The kitchen has been much more decked out. This room looks great, and the freezer is like an actual freezer now. The cameras, doors, and lights from the events map are now fully functional on the main map, which is cool. The prize counter is much more decked out, and there's also like a weird pocket dimension inside the music box. Don't know what's up with that. Behind where the jump scare is, they also added a garage, which is where Pink Guy parks his car, and this is a really nice room to add. I love that the garage actually opens. You can go to the back of the pizzeria. They also added a basement right next to where the rooftop access is, and this basement is kind of like empty, but you could definitely do some stuff with this in Sandbox. There's also a power switch at the bottom which will reset the other things you interact with on the map. They added a fire alarm, so, you know, if you ever wanted to pull the fire alarm at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, we've all thought about it, you can do it now. In the manager's office, there's also now a lockdown button, which adds these giant metal gates over all the doors and windows of the building, and it's so excessive, and I kind of love it. And then there's this nice little tribute to the turtle from the original Keithy map, and that's just beautiful. Now, I've also neglected to mention up until now the Fazbear's Fright map, which is a very good map. It is in the exact same style, and I really like the way it's done. This little lobby area to Fazbear's Fright is a really cool idea. I love the fact you can see the stage that Springtrap would go on. But this map is a lot less interesting and doesn't really contain any lore. It's just a Fazbear's Fright in the same style, but it is a very good Fazbear's Fright that I enjoy a lot. There's just not a lot to talk about in regards to this video. Okay, so finally we get to the events map. Now, to explain for anybody who doesn't know what events map means, it's basically a Garry's Mod map where things happen and it's kind of like scripted, I guess. It's a horror map, basically. It's not Sandbox, but it's also not a game mode. It's just its own little thing that the developer cooked up within the map itself. And I'm just gonna be blunt. This is my favorite FNAF events map in the entirety of Garry's Mod. And I cannot tell you why. It's not even that good. But there is a full, like, playable FNAF campaign here. And it works well. Like, everything functions as intended. There's really nothing I can complain that much about. I guess the cameras are really finicky, but they always are on these kinds of maps. The lobby of this map is very similar to the Remake's lobby because it's literally just, like, based on the exact same thing, but I did want to touch on this, like, control room, which is basically where you can automatically, like, move the animatronics to a specific camera if you want to here. And I absolutely love this control room, just like the purple Freddy, who's like, has like a chessboard with the animatronics on it, where he's clearly supposed to be the one moving them around, and all the little piece of artwork on the wall. I like this room a lot. This is very nice. To describe the gameplay, so imagine FNAF 1, but it has the amount of characters that FNAF 2 does, and there's a music box. That's basically what this game is. It's FNAF 1 with way too many animatronics. I'm just gonna go through all of them. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, Funtime Foxy, the Marionette, Golden Freddy again, and Purple Freddy. All of those are separate animatronics, and among all of those animatronics, only 2 of them have different mechanics. There's Foxy, who acts like Foxy. You know how Foxy works in FNAF games. And then the puppet, who works like the puppet. You know how the puppet works in FNAF games. The only part of this that just straight up doesn't work, like, mechanically, is Golden Freddy. And I mean one of the Golden Freddys, because this map is kind of weird because Golden Freddy appears, like, 2 separate places at the same time, because there's the first Golden Freddy, which just roams around the pizzeria like a normal animatronic, and he's no big deal. But then there's the sitting Golden Freddy, which literally, he just shows up in your office and kills you immediately, and there's nothing you can do about him. There's nothing you can do. Because obviously, if this was a normal FNAF game, you'd flip up your camera monitor to get rid of him. But because this is, like, a Garry's Mod map where you're just, like, there and you can't, like, obviously look into a camera, Golden Freddy will just show up and kill you randomly. And there's nothing you can really do about it.
Was a serial killer who bragged about killing people. And he professed and confessed to be a demon.
You was that, bro? If he wanted you out of there, he'll go do it himself on feet.
But I guess it's really not that big of a deal because dying in this map doesn't work how it does in a traditional FNAF game. You will die in this map and you can just walk right back into the gameplay exactly where the night left off. It doesn't actually, like, kill you per se. Like, you don't get a game over. Dying is more so just an annoyance because you have to walk back into the office. What was that?
What?
What's this shit? What is this shit? Stop! No!
I don't...
What? The only real ways to die is running out of power or letting the music box run out. And the amount of power they give is pretty generous in this game, so it's not really that big of a problem there. The main thing you gotta worry about is remembering to wind up the music box, because the puppet is very, very aggressive in this game, especially on later nights. Unlike FNAF 2, where there's a meter to show how much the box is wound up, in this you have to actually look at the puppet physically on the cameras to see how far or low the puppet is in the box. Which is actually kinda neat. I like how that, like, takes advantage of the fact that this is like a real-time 3D game that you're looking at a real camera in. But yeah, this events map is fun. It has a lot of rare screens, which I did already show earlier. But it really just starts, like, randomly flashing these in your face during the nights, and it's really funny. Various things can show up in the back window. There is an extremely rare dolmen Easter egg for the back window, but I've never seen it occur and there's very little footage of it. Although in the later nights, almost to a comical degree, you will always see Purple Freddy and Golden Freddy show up in this back window. And this campaign has a full 9 nights, which 9 is like, that's pretty high. Usually FNAF games stop at like 7. But yeah, I don't know, I just kind of, like, genuinely enjoy playing this map. I think it has a nice rhythm to it. It could just be because I really like FNAF 1, so if you make a clone of it, I'm probably gonna like it at least a little bit. This is basically just FNAF 1 if it was in the funny GMod map and there were way too many characters. You know, I like that. You know, Purple Freddy, when he shows up, that's aura right there. On very rare occasions in this map, they will attempt to animate the characters, and it's always so funny. Like, what is Toy Freddy doing in the office here? What's that? Why is he, like, wiggling back and forth? What is this animation supposed to convey? Now, this map does actually give you the freedom to look around at the other cameras, unlike FNAF 2, because you don't actually have to be selected on the prize counter to wind up the music box. You only need to look at the prize counter to see how far the puppet is. But even that is optional. Like, if you are winding the box consistently enough, you shouldn't really have to check, unless it's, like, the really later nights. Like, night 9, you probably should check on the puppet, just to make sure. But overall, yeah, with how many animatronics there are and how many cameras there are, you do get plenty of opportunities in this to actually look at them, unlike something like FNAF 2, where you're basically glued to the music box the whole game, even though you want to look at other stuff. But yeah, I like this map. I'm a weirdo who likes this. I don't know. It's, like, not good, but I like it anyway. Honestly, it's pretty good for GMod FNAF standards. Like, I'd play this in a heartbeat any day over the Keithy FNAF 1 map. No offense to that map, but I think that map just, like, the fact that it doesn't have, like a 6 a.m. timer kind of just, like, it just kind of goes forever, and it's kind of weird. I like how this map actually has, like, nights that function. That's always appreciated. Also, I just wanted to mention that the phone calls on this map are, like, ripped from other FNAF games, so it plays, like, all the main phone calls from FNAF 2, a little bit of FNAF 1, a little bit of FNAF 3 for some reason, but there's absolutely no original phone calls here. It's all just ripped from FNAF 1 through 3. So, not really that interesting to talk about. For some reason, though, there is a second map here, that is the exact same thing, but with the Fazbear Frights wall texture. So, I'm just gonna leave that. That's the last little lore note, okay? You guys better figure out what the hell this means. But yeah, I guess that was my more comprehensive deep dive about this map and everything around it. I've always loved this. This is just so interesting to me. I have such a sentimental, like, attachment to this map. It means a lot to me. And I really like talking about it, and I really like this damn Purple Freddy. I don't know what it is about him, I just like him. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. This video took me way too long to make. I completely underestimated how long this would be, but yeah, this video ended up being over an hour long. So, That's funny. Also, yeah, go support my new independently produced plush if you're able to. I'd really appreciate it. Okay, bye-bye.